All right, hi everybody. My name is Cesar Soriano, and I am the Deputy Consular Chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Vienna. And I'm also the Chief of American Citizen Services. So I deal with all issues related to American consular issues. And welcome to our chat. And today, something's happening in November, but I can't remember what it is. What's happening in November? Oh yeah, we have an election. So this is a big year, election year. Obviously, it is a presidential election year, so obviously there's a lot of attention going on with this. So we're going to be discussing today about how to vote from abroad. Whether this is your first time voting from abroad, or you've done this before, or you just moved to Vienna. Like, I've only been here for a month, so I apologize in advance if I don't know the answer to all your questions, but I will try to get the answer to you. I also have Clarissa Rodriguez, who's watching also from the US. She is from the Federal Voters Assistance Program, who will be assisting with some of the answers to all your questions. So, as you all know, every American has the right to vote, no matter where you are, and whether you're physically located in the US or abroad. So we're going to cut to the chase and go straight into our presentation. So, here we go. All right. So this is for the US Consular section, and of course the most important thing to know is the biggest date you need to know is November 3rd. November 3rd is the US general election. And obviously all the attention is focused on the presidential election. However, also this year, all 435 House of Representative seats are to be contested, and 35 of 100 Senate seats are also being contested. And 11 state governors and 2 US territories, including Puerto Rico and American Samoa, and plus countless state and local and county and city referendums that are always on the ballots. So let's go to the next slide, please. Oh, that's me to do. Okay, so the first thing there are 4 steps to voting. And number 1, which is the number 1 thing everyone's got to do, and do it today as soon as you log off here, which is to register for your absentee ballot or register to vote. And then you'll submit that registration, and then you will, hopefully in a day or 2, receive your ballot. And then we'll talk about how to return your ballots. Okay, so the first thing to do is to register to vote. And you do that by using the federal postcard application. And let me clarify that. The FPCA serves 2 purposes. You register to vote with the FPCA, and you also request an absentee ballot using the FPCA. So, where do you get the FPCA? FVAP.gov. And that stands for Federal Voters Assistance Program. And this is a bipartisan federal government website where all your information you need to go is there. This is your one-stop shop for voting from abroad. All the forms you need are on there, all the instructions are on there, and there's this cool wizard that'll actually walk you through depending on where you are voting from. Okay, this is what the homepage looks like for the FVAP.gov, and you'll see there the big giant red box in the middle that says request your ballot now. That is where you start if you have never requested your absentee ballot yet. So that's where you'll start there to request your ballot or to register to vote. If you just turned 18 and you're voting for the very first time, you'll do the same thing, and that will register to your vote and to get your ballot back. Okay, so if you look up there, you'll see the tool that says Overseas Citizen Voter, and that's where you would click to begin the process, or on the red dot you saw earlier. So let's say you've clicked on the red dot and it'll ask you where you're from. In this example, it says Michigan. So it would tell you, it'll walk you through the steps on how to request your FPCA. So you'll see on the screen, there's step 1 and step 2. We'll talk about step 2 later. Right now we're going to talk about step 1. This is to register if you've never registered to vote before or never registered for your absentee ballot. So click on the Start the FPCA, and it'll walk you through all the steps. And on the left, you'll see the requirements in order to vote. Oh, let me just talk about this real quick. Okay, so once you answer all the questions, when you get to the very end, it'll allow you to actually print the FPCA. Now, this FPCA, you cannot send it from this website. You can't just hit send. Yesterday, I actually had an applicant who came in by accident and thought that she had already sent it just by filling it out, but that's not the end of it. You have to actually submit this FPCA registration. And You can email it, you can send it through the regular Austrian post, or you can drop it off at the consulate. All right, so let me show you this screen here. Again, we're talking about the federal postcard application. This is just to register to vote or to request your absentee ballot if you have not done so already. So if you're in one of the light blue states here, you're in luck because every single state there in light blue will accept the FPCA by email or by fax, or you can mail it, but at this point in time, we do not recommend mailing it at this point. You should send it definitely by email today. If you're in the dark blue states, Arkansas, Alabama, Vermont, and Connecticut, I'm afraid you're going to have to mail it back. And again, time is running really, really short. So if you're from one of those 4 states and you have not registered to vote, you should definitely do that today, like ASAP. Run to the post office today if you can. All right, excuse me. Okay. Oh, if you're from one of those 4 states and you have to mail your federal postcard back to the US, you must put Austrian postage. When you print out the FPCA, it's going to say postage paid, but that's US postage. So you need to make sure you put Austrian postage if you're mailing your FPCA back to your home state. Or you can drop it off at the consulate for free, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, requesting your ballot. When you're filling out the absentee ballot FPCA, it'll ask you how you want to receive your ballot. All of us overseas should be checking the email box. And this way your ballots will come back to you usually comes as a PDF file that you have to print out, and you'll vote on the printout. Okay, so you registered to vote, and let me go back to also, once you register to vote, you should check to make sure and confirm that you are registered to vote. So a day or 2 after you've registered, you should go and most states have a website where you can go on there and check your own to see if you're registered to vote. Usually it'll ask you for your name or your address or your social security number. Type it in and it'll say, yes, you're registered to vote in the November election and you're confirmed, and you should be receiving a ballot soon. If you do not, the other option is you should contact your local election office directly to make sure that you are and confirm that you are registered to vote. Okay, so you're registered to vote, you've done all that good stuff, and now you're going to receive your ballot. So we had a lot of happy people today in the office who received their ballots today. I know Virginia was one of the states today that issues. If you're from Virginia, check your email because the ballots did go out last night. A lot of people got them today. So if you did, check your email. Also, make sure you check your spam email every day because a lot of them might end up in the spam box. Let me just answer one question. I emailed FPCA, would sending it through email again be problematic? No, you can send it again. So if you think if you mailed it, go ahead and send it again. That's fine. There's no issue with registering more than once. You're not going to get 8 ballots. You're just going to be registered once. Okay, so once you get your ballots, because we're now in late September, so you should, once you receive your ballot, do not delay, don't sit on it. You should definitely, obviously, research the issues and candidates before you vote, but don't delay, register and vote vote as soon as possible. So you're going to return your ballot now, and return your ballot immediately. So how do you return your ballot? So this is the complicated issue, and it's so complicated, I have this phone book sized, oh yeah, I'm not online, that's okay. I'll show you later, but I have this binder that is the size of a phone book that shows you every single way that you have to return your ballot. Again, if you go through the website, it will walk you through the steps and explain to you for all the rules and regulations for the place where you are voting from. As you can see on this map, it can get quite complex. Every state has different rules on how they will accept your ballot. And I will discuss the write-in ballot in a minute. But whether you're voting by ballot or whether you're voting by the federal write-in absentee ballot, or FWAB, you have to send the ballot back, obviously. So the light blue states on this map are the states that will accept your ballot by email, fax, or regular postal mail. If you have the option of fax or email, you should definitely use fax or email first to make sure that your ballot gets there as quick as possible. Some of these states, like I'm from Colorado, we can vote 100% online, which is really cool, but we are one of the rare exceptions of states that are allowed to do that right now. So, light blue, the red states, if you're in a red colored state here, and by the way, this is nothing political, these are just the colors that they used on this map. The red colored states here are the states that require you to mail or fax. However, there's a small print to this issue. You'll see some of the states have a star next to them. This is because they have certain regulations that only certain people are allowed to use email or fax. For example, in Iowa, you can only vote if you're a military service member or living in a hostile fire area. I'm not sure what a hostile fire area is, but I'm guessing it's a place like Iraq or Afghanistan. So, and again, some of these other states have rules, like for example, in Texas, once again, you're only allowed to register you can only email by fax if you are from a hostile fire area. Now, the dark blue states are the states that will only accept your ballot by regular mail. And they require you to physically return your ballot somehow to your election office. And if you're voting in one of those dark blue states that's on this map, then if you haven't received your ballot by by the end of September, then we encourage you to do a backup ballot, which I'll discuss in a few minutes. Okay, if you're from one of those states that must return your ballot physically return your ballot, how do you get your ballot back to the US? If you do not live in the Vienna area, then you should send it by international post, in this case, Austrian post. And you must use Austrian postage stamps when you mail it. So if you live in Innsbruck and you're mailing your ballot back, make sure you mail it with Austrian postage, not US postage or anything else. The other option is you can use one of the expedited courier services like FedEx or DHL or UPS. And your other option is, if you live in the Vienna area, you are welcome to come and drop it off at the US Consulate. Now, this slide says October 2nd. However, right before I walked in here, we got the announcement that we are extending that deadline to October 7th. So you can return your ballots to the US Consulate by Wednesday, October 7th, and we will mail it to you for free by diplomatic pouch. And even if you drop it off after October 7th, we will still accept it. We just cannot guarantee it'll get there by election day. So at that point, you're taking a risk that it doesn't get there in time. When you print your ballot out, your ballot should come with something that looks like what you're seeing on the screen now. This is the official absentee ballot mailing, the envelope template, and you'll see in the top right corner, it says US postage paid. So people may be asking, the question we ask is, why do I have to put stamps on it if it says postage paid? Why do I have to send postage paid if I'm mailing it from the embassy? It must be in this envelope. And the reason is, you'll drop it off at the consulate, it gets sent to the United States by a diplomatic pouch. At that point, it actually enters the normal US Postal Service system. So that's why you have to have the postage paid stamp printout on your envelope that you mail your ballot from. Okay, so if you're mailing it by international post, that's self-explanatory. Make sure you put international Austrian postage stamps. Courier service will depend on whatever DHL or FedEx or UPS charges you. Okay, dropping off at the consulate. And excuse me, I am going to take some water here. Okay, if you are dropping it off at the consulate, you must put the ballot inside this stamp that I showed you. Oops. You must put it inside. Put your ballot inside this envelope here, and it must be addressed to your voting office and addressed with your return address on the top. You'll print that out. Normally, you'll put that ballot inside. If your ballot did not come with that envelope template, you can print one for free at fvap.gov website. You can also use your own envelope and your own U.S. postage stamps if you wanted to, but we wouldn't recommend that because I don't know where you're going to find U.S. stamps here in Austria. So please do use the official template, voting envelope template. This is just making sure that you get a postmark. Don't worry, if you drop it off at the consulate, you're going to get a postmark. And the postmark shows when the ballot was received. so that some states it has to be postmarked by a certain date, and that's what you'll receive to know that the local office will know that that it arrived in time. Okay, so if you want to come and drop off your ballots at the U.S. Consulate, or if you want to drop off your registration, if you haven't registered to vote yet, you're welcome to drop off either the voter registration or your ballot at the U.S. Consulate here in Austria. And our address is on here. We're at Park Green 12A at the Marriott Hotel building. We are not, I repeat, we are not at the U.S. Embassy. If you go to the embassy, they're going to turn you away and send you across town to where we are located. So, yeah, we actually have 3 missions in Austria and the consulate. So please make sure you go to the correct address. Tell all your friends they should come to the U.S. Consulate, which is located in the Marriott Hotel building. We are near Stadtpark on the U-Form Underground or on the tram number 2. And we're open Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. And we are closed to U.S. and Austrian holidays, but I don't think we have any holidays between now and... No, there's no more holidays until Election Day. I don't think so. Okay. No? October 26th is a holiday? Oh, okay. Well, I did not know. So that's a holiday. So we are not open on holidays. Okay, and there's same information on our consulate. Okay, so let's say it's now October 7th, our drop-off date, and you still haven't received your ballot. Or even your ballot was supposed to go out September 19th and you never received it. Or you accidentally requested it to be sent by mail, and if you said it's going to take a long time to get your ballot here by mail by overseas. So you can do what's called a federal write-in absentee ballot. It's also known as the backup ballot. So the backup ballot is basically the same thing that you're going to get from your local office, but it's a write-in ballot. Everything has to be done by hand. So what you'll do is you'll go to the website here and you'll see there it says election forms and materials, and you'll click on there to get your federal write-in absentee ballot. Excuse me, ignore that part. This is the part. If you click on overseas citizen voter, and then you'll walk through the state that you're going to vote in. Again, just like you register to vote, this is how you're going to do the write-in ballot if you have to do the write-in ballot. So in this case, we're using our Michigan example again. You will go to step 2 and you'll click, didn't receive your ballot, click your startup backup ballot. This will walk you through the ballot to register to do all your ballots. You'll basically vote just as you would on your normal ballot, and it will walk you through the steps, and you'll mail this instead of your ballot. Now, let's say you do the write-in ballots and 2 days later you get your official ballot. Go ahead and fill out both and mail both. Only one of them is going to be counted, but that's why this one's called the backup ballot. We would recommend you do the official ballot also if you do get that later on. By the way, all ballots are supposed to be sent out by tomorrow. By September 19th, all states are required to send out their absentee ballots. So please keep checking your email. If you have not received it by next week, you should definitely be contacting your local election office to find out. Maybe you got stuck in spam, maybe you went to the wrong email address, but do check on that right away. If you ever have any questions, you can always email us at votevienna@state.gov, and this is where we can walk you through the steps. I'm going to open it up to questions. I know that was a lot of information to fill in, so let's see. We've got any questions on? Nope. Okay, we have two ways that we're taking questions today. One of them is our website called Slido. And sorry, I've not used this program before, as you can tell. So this program called Slido, there should be a link at the top of the screen on the introduction to this chat. So click on there first, please, if you have any questions. My colleague from FEAP is answering the questions on Facebook, so if you're seeing any of those, then she will respond to those. All right. Let me answer a question I received yesterday, and the question was, do I have to send my ballot in 2 envelopes? The reason why this question came up is because certain states require you to put your ballot inside of a secret envelope. And I'm just looking for the answer on here. Okay. So yeah, so some states require you to fill out your ballot and you stick it inside of a secret envelope. Then that envelope gets placed into your normal overseas ballot envelope. So that's why you might need that. Okay. Another question we get asked a lot in the ACS section is third culture kids, or people who have never lived in the United States. So if there's a family here who has had an Austrian child, an American citizen child, but that child has never actually lived in the United States, and they're 18 now. The question we get asked a lot is, where do I vote? If you have never, ever lived in the United States, you've never voted in the United States, you've never had a license in the United States, some states allow you to vote in the state where your parents previously voted. So if your mom and dad voted in Florida in 1980, it depends on the state, so I'm not going to use any state examples. Every state is different. That's why I have my ginormous book here. So this is the thing I was talking about earlier. This is the rules and regulations for every single jurisdiction in the U.S. So please go to fvap.gov as your first place to get the correct answers. I'm not going to presume to know the rules for all 50 states and the District of Columbia. So make sure you do that, because every state has different rules regarding who can vote if you no longer reside in the United States. The other question I get asked is, where should I vote if I no longer have a residence in the U.S.? Normally you'll use the last address where you lived and voted. So even if you no longer live there, even if you've sold that house, or the house is burned down or whatever, if that house doesn't even exist, you still use the old address where you voted on when you're requesting your absentee ballot. Okay, any questions? No, okay, quiet bunch today. So I do see a lot of questions though on, there's a few on Facebook. Okay, all right, well then I will just talk to you about some of the other common questions that we get here on occasion. Another question is, do I need a social security number to vote? And this is because on some state websites, when you go to vote, it'll ask you for your social security. However, a lot of Americans overseas, especially US citizens who are born abroad, may not have a social security number. In that case, when you apply to get your absentee ballot, you should check in section 6 on the form. There's a box that says additional information. You should write in there, I do not have a social security number, or I do not have a US driver's license. That's how you would vote if you do not have a social security number. Okay. Okay, somebody says they're having problems getting registered. Can you please elaborate what the problems are? All right. I did see a question on Facebook that somebody was living in a different state and had moved to a new state. I don't know if that's the same person, but if you did move residences, I did see the question about somebody who had moved from California to Florida, and I think FVAP already answered that particular question. But yes, you should normally vote in what your new legal residence is. Okay. All right, what are some other common questions? Voting by fax. Okay, so for us old folks, we all know what a fax machine is, but I've actually had a young person come in the other day and they said they had never heard of a fax. They wanted to know what that was. So yeah, if your state allows a fax machine and you don't have a fax machine, and most people do not have a fax machine anymore, there are actually some apps you can find on your favorite app store that will allow you to scan a document and send it by fax. Also, FVAP does offer a fax by email service, and some Austrian post offices do offer fax services as well, as do some private mailing services. Okay, so the question I just received is, county clerk says you must register before we send in the FPCA. No, that is not. I think that maybe the person did not understand how you vote from overseas. If FVAP, you're welcome to jump in on Facebook if you can, but the question is, the county clerk is telling this person that they need to register before they send in the FPCA. The FPCA is the registration. The FPCA serves as both an absentee ballot, as both voter registration and to request your ballot. So I would probably email the county clerk local election office again and explain this. You can even go to fvap.gov and cut and paste the pertinent information that shows that the FPCA card is both a voter registration and an absentee ballot request form. A lot of places, especially rural counties, are not quite familiar with American citizens living overseas, so you know that is a common issue, unfortunately. But hopefully this person can, your local office can get that straightened out. Okay. No, I am not going to answer that question. Thank you, though. This is a bipartisan event, so we will not get into those issues that I'm receiving on Facebook. Okay, there. Okay, and no other questions on Slido right now? No? Okay. Oh, somebody asked, how do you check the status of the application? A lot of states now, if their local election offices or the state election office has a website, we can actually go in there and type in your name and social, or your name and date of birth, or other information, or your home of residency, and it'll show you, we received your FPCA on X date, your ballot went out, we received your ballot on whatever date it received. So you'll know that your ballot actually arrived in the United States and is being processed. Please go to those websites and check. Every state has a different website, so you'll have to go on there and Google it and find out where your state elections office is to find that out. Let's talk about common mistakes. The last election cycle, tens of thousands of absentee voter ballots were thrown out for errors. Some of the most common errors are the person forgot to sign it. A lot of states require you to sign your ballots, and some states require you to have a witness. So please, when you receive your ballot, you need to read it very, very carefully, because every state, every county, every jurisdiction is going to have their own requirements. And a lot of it is just people rushing through their ballots and not reading the fine print. So when you receive your ballot, please make sure you read it. Some states have ID laws that require you to send a copy of your identification. Some states require, like I said, one, sometimes two witnesses. So please make sure you read everything carefully before you vote and before you mail it off. Okay. Is there specific dates that diplomatic pouches get mailed out? It depends. So it goes out at least once a week. It depends on, I'm not going to speak for the folks who run our diplomatic pouch service, but it goes out frequently enough that we will accept the ballots until October 7th. The pouch will go out that week. The diplomatic pouch, again, takes about 3 weeks to, once you drop it off at the consulate, it'll take about 3 weeks for your ballot to get from the U.S. consulate to your final local election office, or your LEO. If you drop off your ballot after October 7th, October 8th, October 10th, we will still send it out by diplomatic pouch, but just be aware that the later you wait, the longer, we cannot guarantee that it'll receive in time to your local election office. I would say that our drop deadline would be probably the second or third week of October, probably by mid-October. If it's after October 20th and you still have not received your ballot, at that point, you should probably consider sending your ballot back by DHL or FedEx or another overnight service if you have to mail it back. Okay. Hi, can we drop our ballots off at the consulate once they're filled out, and what's the procedure for that? Okay. I discussed that earlier, but yes, so first of all, your ballots have to be completely filled out. Don't bring me a ballot. I don't want to see who you voted for. So make sure your ballots are completely filled out and already sealed in the envelopes before you bring them to the consulate. And the consulate, again, is open from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. And we are located at Park Ring 12 in the Marriott Hotel building. When you walk into the we're located on the 4th floor of the Marriott, of the offices on the side of the Marriott. If you're facing the Marriott, we're on the right plaza side, and come into the entrance. It's an office building on the right side. We're on the 4th floor, and you'll reach the security desk. When you come to the security desk, you're actually going to see the ballot box is right there behind our local guards. And you'll just drop your ballot in. And for a limited time only, if you drop your ballot at the consulate, you will receive one of these cool I voted sticker. And we also have some pens and other swag, but we only have a limited amount of those, so please drop them off as soon as possible. We've had 30 ballots already received in the past 2 weeks. So people are getting the word out. We are getting, the word's getting out. So yes, please come and you can get a fancy little sticker like this. You can actually go to the FBAP.com website. If you're not able to make it to Vienna, you can actually go to the FBAP website. There's actually a fun tool on there that lets you print out a sticker that you can share on social media that shows that you voted from abroad, which is a really cool feature. So I would recommend that as well. Okay, any other questions? We are running out of time here shortly.
You answered that question, I believe.
Okay. Okay, someone's asking if their property was sold or the property doesn't exist anymore. You should still use the last address where you voted. Even if you no longer own that house anymore or no longer have that property, then definitely you should still register to vote at the last residence where you resided in the United States. Okay, and yes, it's true. Sometimes the person who moved in there might have registered there also, but it doesn't matter. That's basically just for the purposes of knowing where you are legally allowed to vote in the United States. Oh, okay, we have another question about political parties. Why do I have to put my political party on my registration? The reason you have to put your political party on your FPCA is because to make you eligible to vote in primary elections. So, for example, earlier this year, before it was narrowed down to 2 candidates for the big elections, every state had a primary where you selected your party candidates that you're going to vote for. And so this is to allow so the states know which ballot to send you. Do they send you this party or that party? So they know which ballot to send you. In some states, if you're an independent voter, you'll receive both. You'll receive the primary, or you'll receive one giant ballot with every single party and every single candidate. And in those cases, you would just vote for one particular party if you were voting at a primary. And by the way, I would recommend everyone that you please, if you live here in Austria, you should complete an FPCA card every January. And the reason is because some states have rules about when they wipe out the voter rolls, and also some states, and something could happen, they could just lose your registration. So we recommend that any American living overseas should definitely send an FPCA every January. And that will make you eligible for the entire year of elections, whether it's primary or whether it's a general election or whether it's just your city dog catcher is running for office, whatever. So you'll receive that ballot as well if you sign up for the FPCA card every year. Okay, we are out of time, unfortunately. So if people enjoyed this, we can do it again soon, I hope. But thank you very much. Keep the questions coming. You can email us again at votevienna@state.gov. Again, votevienna@state.gov. And I look forward to seeing you at the consulate if you come in person to drop off your ballot. And otherwise, tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, and I hope to see you all again. And please register to vote. Thank you all for seeing us about your rights to vote overseas. Thank you and have a great day.